Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another fantastic edition of Sitback with Shaq and Anu. It's a Tuesday night as we're coming to you live on Channel 1 Dialogue TV and, of course, on our YouTube platforms on PodHub. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. As always, on the show, as you know, we talk about trending topics. We talk about current, whatever is actually happening currently in Sri Lanka. So we try and bring in individuals, of course, to reflect that industry, to find out more details, to get to the crunch and give all our viewers, of course, watching right now, more details and, of course, more information as to what that industry is doing. We had so many fantastic guests on the show so far, and we still have a fair amount of shows to go with some really, really good guests actually coming up on the show. As you can see, a wonderful individual by my side, on my right at the moment, and he is the Chief Marketing Officer of Daras in Sri Lanka, Heshan Perera. Good evening, Heshan.
Good evening, Shaq. Thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you so much for coming on the show.
No
Lots
worries.
to talk about. Of course, Daras, as you know, the biggest online platform that we have in terms of selling stuff, and so many merchants and so many products. Just a few clicks away. We'll get into all those details, of course, leaders in the e-commerce industry. So that's exactly what we're going to get into and find out how the e-commerce business is actually doing in a crunch situation that Sri Lanka is going through right now. As always, on the show, we start off with a poll, and the poll is always synonymous with the individual that's actually on the show or the subject that we're talking about on the show. So it's time for us to get into the poll right now. Check it out.
What is the poll?
Alrighty then. So I'll let you know what the poll is.
What is the poll we have? I was just asking off. Yeah.
We're going to get into the poll right now. And the poll, of course, is coming up on the screen right now for you. Will the e-commerce industry survive the economic crisis? Straight up. Yes or no? Will the e-commerce industry survive the economic crisis? Yes or no? You can WhatsApp your answers. We get so many individuals sending us details and answers for this poll every single day. 077 669 1590. That's exactly what we're talking about, Heshan. Now, before we jump into that particular poll itself, we'll talk about it at the latter part of the show, as we will know exactly what our viewers think about the e-commerce industry. So let's dive straight into the conversation.
Sure.
In what ways has the e-commerce industry been affected with the current economic crisis?
I think the most obvious way is in our logistics, right? With the fuel crisis, fulfilling our orders has been a huge task.
Right.
So in terms of people still having that appetite, people still looking to sort of live their lifestyles as best as they can, right, during this time. That aspect and their eagerness to sort of explore with us, to find out, the things that they have with us, I feel hasn't really diminished.
Okay, that's
right?
good.
That's really good.
Right.
That's really good. I mean, at the end of the day, for me, I always feel this is Sri Lanka, right?
Yeah.
We always weather the storm. We always find a way. So we are, obviously there are a lot of people who are suffering out there. I'm not saying no, but there are a lot of people also who are trying to see what is the best alternative.
Right.
So in that way, people coming onto the platform, people looking at buying certain products hasn't diminished.
Okay.
But I think the fuel crisis is what has hit us hard the most.
Right.
Because predominantly it has not allowed us to sort of fulfill our deliveries on time.
Right.
One of the things that we take great pride in is actually our sort of service levels and our standard when it comes to our delivery timelines.
Right.
So, we had to sort of extend that over the last 2 months or so, because unfortunately we are the same as well, right?
Right.
We are also given a certain quota of fuel. We are also certain, our delivery heroes actually stay in queues to find petrol. So we do it in shifts as well, right? Like while some of the delivery heroes have fuel and they're delivering orders, the next batch is actually waiting in line for fuel.
Right.
So we face the same problems that everyone in Sri Lanka is facing. So I think, and that logistical hit would be the biggest sort of hurdle that we faced as well, because we still understand, right? Consumers are still demanding. Right. And they do understand to a certain point, but then that would sort of affect our overall sort of, conversion in terms of people coming in, because people are also desperate to sort of purchase what they need.
Yes.
So if that delivery timeline has taken a little bit longer, they might have to look at alternatives.
Right.
So I would say, logistically, operationally is where we've been hit the hardest.
Okay.
And also, in terms of assortment and things like that, we're working very closely with our sellers also, to try and have the best assortment and the products also.
Right.
But logistics probably the biggest.
So now, not too long ago, when we actually went through the pandemic, e-commerce industry just boomed at that point.
Yeah.
It was just beyond control.
Yeah.
Everybody was enjoying it. People who didn't understand e-commerce just got into e-commerce. Give it 18 months, it's complete opposite now. It's just taken a massive nosedive. Have you experienced something like that? Because of course we've all experienced something when it goes up, but it peters down and sort of stables itself.
Correct.
It's a completely different thing. It must be very difficult for an organization also to even forecast things like this.
That's funny you should mention that, because I was talking to a friend recently and he was asking, hey, how's it going, what you're doing at work?
Right.
I said, I'm just reforecasting every day.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah.
Honestly, and I know most of my colleagues in the marketing fraternity, it's the same. It's the same for all of us. It's so unpredictable. No one in Sri Lanka has gone through something like this, so there are no learnings, there are no benchmarks. There's no one we can pick up the phone and call and ask, what happened.
Exactly.
So it's very tough. It's just, just trying to trust your experience, trust your gut.
Right.
Trust how you see in the market react, and put your best foot forward, right? And we've got a fantastic team at Daras who are doing this, not just the marketing team, but everyone who works at Daras are sort of, pushing towards this goal. So I wouldn't say that we have nosedived.
Okay.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah, I'm talking not Daras per se.
Oh, the e-commerce in general.
E-commerce, because they had a massive boom.
Yeah, correct.
And then it's just,
nosedive. Do you feel that? Because see, when it comes to e-commerce, I like to look at it in two different areas.
Okay.
I look at the shopping side as well as the service-centric side, where you pay your bills and things like that.
Right.
So I still feel people are still going about their normal lives. So in terms of those two key functions, sort of, probably accounting for most of e-commerce and especially digital payments as well.
Okay.
I think maybe one of the areas that has gone down would be credit card payments online, which has affected e-commerce businesses. But I wouldn't categorize it as a nosedive, I think.
Okay, that's good. That's good to know.
That's good to know.
I mean, credit cards, of course, also have a direct impact because of the interest rates.
Exactly.
That is something also that we will talk about as we move on. Also, by the way, if you got any questions for Heshan, you can always drop us a message, and it's on your screen right now, 077-669-1590. If he hasn't delivered anything that you bought from Daras, this is the best time for you to actually drop your order number. We'll make sure it's getting delivered immediately. Let's take you back to the pandemic. Right? Like I said, obviously there was a massive boom. How did the shopping patterns change according to the consumers during the pandemic?
Right. So during the pandemic, the advantage that we had was, our team worked very closely with the then government, and we were able to sort of get permission and get passes to operate our logistics and operations pretty much after a while, business as usual. Right. So that really allowed us to sort of give the best possible service to our customers who were stuck at home. Right. So within that context, obviously some of the things that the people wanted were predominantly essentials and FMCG items and things like that. So that we saw a tremendous pickup in. However, since the lifestyle changed to very much at home, we saw a tremendous boom because people were then shifting their mindset and their lifestyles to live at home. So what do you do at home? You buy your essentials so that your meals are sorted. Then comes entertainment. So people were buying sound systems, headphones, video games, TVs, everything. Right? Because, what we saw there was, and this is, I'm talking sort of the middle to upper class level as well, right? We did see a tightening on the purse strings when it came to sort of maybe the lower sub-segment. But, so they were quite happy to change their lifestyle, try e-commerce, try online shopping. Most of them, that's the only way they could get their products, right? Like I would have friends calling me saying, "Matang gedara blend ek kaduna, Daras again set kalla denna puluwan." You know, I mean, these seem trivial, but those were the lives, right?
Yes, of course.
Those are the lives. And you know, things like that. You know, washing machines. You know, trying to sort of wash their clothes was a big thing as well. So home appliances, people setting up home offices.
Right.
So, desks, chairs, stuff like that. Laptops flew off the shelf.
Right,
So it was just people getting ready for a different kind of lifestyle.
Right.
That sort of helped us a lot as well. And to be honest, because people didn't have access to offline stores for this, and sort of Daraz was the perfect alternative.
Right.
And the fact that, we were able to deliver on our promise really helped us definitely during the COVID time.
You also started shifting lifestyles and sort of addressing the requirement for the lifestyle, especially when we started also experiencing power cuts.
Yeah.
Because then you came up with lots of stuff that can actually be used for a power cut. I mean, from generators to torches and all that stuff. That should have been very helpful also at the same time.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, I mean, again, it's all about our commercial team working very closely with the sellers, really understanding the market trends, and they've done a fantastic job of having that assortment ready.
Right.
So, yeah, definitely. So, it goes with the times, right? So, during power cuts, we saw a lot of electronic fans and things like that, fly off the shelf. We were pushing quite a bit of generators and things like that, temporary rechargeable lights.
Right.
So definitely those moved.
Right.
Definitely not at the scale of the pandemic.
Of course.
Because people did have alternatives as well.
Right.
But overall, honestly, I think people were very, positively susceptible to what we were selling and the assortments that we had at very competitive prices. So, I would say we really came out of the dark. Sorry about that pun. Terrible pun.
No pun.
Terrible one.
Came out of we're still in the dark.
We're still in the dark.
But one thing I must basically let you know in terms of Daraz, of course, what you've done is you've really have touched the lifestyle, and you've also tried to basically merge the products that is required as far as the lifestyle is concerned, which is good. I mean, you've got e-commerce sites that basically have the same goods every day right throughout, and you don't necessarily highlight what is the requirement today, which is actually a good thing. So kudos to your team on that, to highlighting as to what is required. Look, now the fuel crisis, we were talking about the fuel crisis, has curtailed movement for your consumers, right? Not necessarily consumers, almost everybody. So that means when that's been curtailed, your screen time is high, right? So shouldn't you be seeing a higher number of people on your sites right now with more clicks than you actually had before?
Yeah. So to be honest with you, Shaq, like I said, right, when it comes to our traffic forecast of people actually coming onto our platform, that hasn't dropped too much.
Okay.
We are still pretty much on track of what we had planned.
Okay.
Right. And when we forecast as well, we see, yes, in certain cases, what we're seeing, it's more difficult to bring them onto the platform.
Right.
In terms of our marketing efforts, in terms of our investment, we might have to do a little bit more, but they are definitely coming onto the platform.
Right.
Right. What we are seeing that is not happening is that right now, earlier, online shopping used to be, essential shopping, and then you had your impulse shopping as well.
Yes.
And then you had your sort of more higher end sort of items where you would research a little bit more and sort of make your purchase as well, right? So I think the subsegment that you did your impulse shopping has dropped.
Okay.
Right? So people are far more cautious in making a purchase right
Understandable.
now. Understandably.
Yeah.
Understandably. And that is the kind of behavior we're seeing on our platform as well.
Right.
Like I said earlier, like I touched on, if you were to divide it into two sub-segments, the sort of middle class to upper class kind of shoppers in terms of their order values and what they buy, they are kind of maintaining their sort of lifestyle.
Okay.
We see in terms of what they purchase and how frequently they're purchasing.
Right.
They're not going above, they're just maintaining their lifestyles. However, where we see a lot of people, sort of maybe struggling and really tightening and really considering those purchases are the people, sort of on the lower end.
Right.
Who would maybe certainly purchase, a lower end value item, but now they would consider twice, thrice. They would look at alternatives. So that purchase decision-making process is taking a lot longer because, things are tight for people right now. Yeah.
Of course.
It's not easy to spend, even 20 rupees without even giving it due consideration. So I feel that's the main thing that has changed.
Okay.
People are still interested. They're still looking for a lot of value. And that's one of the things that we really hope to drive, as much value as we can and as much savings as we can to our people. So that's where they will make a purchase decision. But people are still coming, people are still looking. It's just that, it's finding the right fit for the right person.
And also getting that conversion rate.
Getting that conversion
so
rate,
I suppose what we see right now is what we used to do when we used to basically walk into a mall and just window shop.
Correct.
Right. So you've got more people screen time about window shopping.
Absolutely.
Thinking the fact that maybe I'll try and buy this next week.
Correct.
Or the week after. So you've got more people obviously window shopping.
Absolutely.
Right.
I mean, people are now really looking at, okay, is there a sale coming?
Right.
Can we get a discount then?
Right.
Let's add it to the cart, really, consider it before.
Right.
Things like that. So, it's tough for people out there. And that's reflecting in how people are buying on the platform as well.
For sure. I mean, if you take a look at the current situation right now, I suppose maybe three key elements really are being affected. One, of course, is you're looking at less credit rates given by the suppliers and the merchants, so to say, because understandably everybody's in a crunch. Everyone needs the money as soon as possible. Then you also have the decreasing disposable income.
Yeah.
And possibly the unavailability of the goods that they want.
Sure.
So all this sort of couples together and really puts a headache as far as an e-commerce site like Daras is concerned, right? But how has Daras pivoted around these three key factors? Because every time the banks basically start talking about credit rates, that means, it's a bit of a tough situation for you. Because you're also reliant on banks pushing the credit cards.
Yeah.
And at the same time, when you've got merchants sort of saying that, listen, we don't have the products, understandably so, because they can't get it down with the forex issues and all stuff. So how have you pivoted? Because, it's an issue from all ends.
Absolutely. I think, so let's take, maybe the first thing about the credit card issues, right? So our payments and partnership teams, I think Dulika, you know him well as well.
Yep.
So
I don't really want to know him, but just kidding. Sorry, Dulika.
So one of the things that he and I were talking about and he's looking to do is actually, obviously the central bank is encouraging, with these sort of interest rates going up, encouraging banks not to sort of, have offers, go in for discounts to get people to spend. Because what happens is, people will look at that as a way out. But what's actually happening is then they'll get into long-term debt. And we've seen this happen, right? And so that's a very tricky situation for the government to sort of manage. So which is why they're putting such high taxes on these credit cards. However, one of the things that we could look at is debit cards. Right? Lots of people have debit cards, and the partnerships team, payment team is actually working with banks to try and see if we could look at, discounting and things like that. Obviously, it's not going to be, as business or financially viable for the banks as a credit card would be for obvious reasons. But we are looking to see how we can work together and see if we could give a bit of a benefit to our customers that way in terms of a debit card purchase and things like that. In terms of assortment, again, we're working very closely with sellers. So what we're trying to do is we have this terminology called alternate product. So if certain products are not available, we actually try to find products which are of similar nature, similar quality, basically an alternative that could get the job done. And then that would vary on, you have more stocks there, pricing would be different. And so on and so forth. So it's just about sort of giving customers an opportunity to find out for themselves, research for themselves, make a decision for themselves, and then sort of go and make those purchases. So it's a very difficult task. I kind of explained it in like 5 minutes.
I understand.
But the entire process takes, quite a bit to sort of, because we have more than, I think 10 million assortment now. So trying to sort of figure out what is out of stock, which sellers are having difficulty with stock, then trying to, fill those gaps with alternatives is not an easy task.
Right.
But that's one of the really good things that the commercial team has been really striving for and really doing right now.
Are you having difficulties holding on to your merchants?
At the moment, definitely not, I would say. Okay. Because they're still very keen, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I'll be honest, maybe the only point of contention, just for transparency, is actually, the pricing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because especially when it comes to certain items, because the Sri Lanka dollar is fluctuating so much, you can't fix the price. It's changing pretty much from day to day.
That's
so
true.
There are some, difficulties in sort of managing that relationship.
Right.
But overall, definitely sellers are not leaving us.
Right.
Because like I said, that sort of trust and sentiment and the traffic we still drive is there.
That's right.
Right. And in terms of pure scale, we can offer a lot of value to our sellers, if they work with us.
Right.
And certainly they work closely with the seller team. So we always help them, giving them tips on how they can improve, how they can make a conversion, what they need to do to sort of make the sale,
right.
And things like that. So definitely, maybe few sellers find it a bit difficult, but overall sentiment is good right now.
Yeah, because I was just also thinking the fact that trying to hold on to sellers when you are trying to get down stuff, because when you order, your dollar rate is X.
Exactly.
When it comes down, your dollar rate is Y. When the customer buys it is something else. And when it's been delivered, so unfortunately the merchant pretty much loses out on the whole thing. So why would they want to push them and go ahead with it?
Correct. So, I mean, those are some of the things that we're working very closely with the merchants also on trying to figure out if we can hedge some prices as well.
Okay.
So that's one of the ways we are going. So if we are going to hedge, then we might look at giving them benefits on the commission that we charge.
Right.
So again, just really looking at trying to understand what the problem is, and trying to give them a real world solution right now.
Okay.
Without trying to think too much about what's at our best interest.
Right.
Because we know, just like the customer is important for us, huge important to us at Daras is our sellers.
Of course.
I mean, without them, we can't function.
Exactly.
Right.
I mean, you don't have a site.
Exactly.
There's nothing to sell.
There's nothing to sell.
Right.
So that's definitely something we are looking at. We're definitely listening to their concerns. We just had a town hall with about 50 of our sellers last Thursday.
Right.
So that's our effort to sort of have more intimate town hall meetings, listen to the problems that they have, and try and give them real-time solutions immediately, so that some of their main concerns are alleviated.
Right.
I mean, I'll be honest, there are some short-term solutions that we can give, but there are some long-term things that we have to work on, which require tech and things like that as well.
Right.
But overall, that's how we are working with them.
Right.
So case by case, I guess.
Yeah.
And once we figure out a good solution that works for one type of seller, we then roll it out to similar kind of sellers that would benefit as well.
At least there is a communication between you and the seller.
Oh, absolutely.
So you don't alienate them completely.
Not at all.
Right,
Absolutely,
right.
yeah.
Okay, so recently you also actually had the Daras Payment Partner Performance Awards.
Right, yes.
What's that all about?
Oh, well, that is all about, so again, just like we can't function with sellers, we can't function without our payment partners.
Right.
Right. People have to, pay apart from cash on delivery. We need our payment partners to make digital payments.
Right.
Right. And our Daras Pay team and the payment and partnerships team has been working on this.
Right.
So this is essentially just congratulating and sort of building on the relationships that we have with the banks here in Sri Lanka.
Right.
All the top banks who are with us in terms of giving us credit card offers and things like that, and just identifying which partner did well in certain areas, driving the highest revenue for us, innovating in terms of payments for us, and so on and so forth.
Right.
So that was, just a little bit of recognition, thanking them for being with us, and sort of, hoping they would give us more discounts in the future.
Your ecosystem is very complicated, isn't it? I mean, it is reliant on every single person.
Absolutely.
You can't necessarily run the whole site with a standalone. You've got your consumers who are required to actually buy the stuff that the merchants are required. Then you've got your partners who need to come in and give the deals.
Absolutely.
So it must be a headache, man, for you.
I'm just not for me, for Rakil probably, has to manage the thing.
Yeah, I'm just saying this ecosystem is crazy because one is completely interdependent on the other.
Yeah, absolutely.
And everything falls if that doesn't actually deliver.
Correct. So I mean, that's what it is, right? And that's what I've learned after joining Daras as well, right? How a business at scale operates.
Right.
And it's been a fantastic learning for me as well.
Right.
That, once you get to a scale of this size, you have systems in place and you need all of those systems to function. That will give you a tremendous result.
Right.
Right. But also on the flip side, what happens is if one sort of element is not quite performing, it affects the entire business.
Right.
And puts pressure on the entire business.
Okay.
So definitely. But that is the kind of systems we created. We're very confident in the tech we have to keep this running smoothly, and in the people that we have, more importantly.
Right.
So it's been going great so far.
Right.
All things good, touch wood.
Right.
So far.
I mean, you're clearly the biggest e-commerce site in the country at the moment. You, of course, you have a giant that's actually backing you.
Yeah.
And you are a multinational, so to say. You've got Daras in different parts of the world. But what are you doing right now in terms of the e-commerce industry per se? It's all well and good when you are a giant.
Sure.
But you seem, I mean, also sometimes you also are perceived as you've basically swallowed everybody else. You don't give room for anybody else to grow. As a company, what are you doing for the e-commerce industry?
So I would say one of the first things that we've started right now is actually growing the category itself. Right?
Okay.
See, as a market leader, it's not just our responsibility to have someone coming to our platform, making a purchase, and then forgetting about it.
Right.
It's actually creating that experience where we've taken a consumer whose lifestyle has depended on shopping offline and changed that consumer behavior to where he or she is comfortable shopping online, or even transacting online.
Right.
So in that way, the bigger we grow, the more new sort of buyers we get on board, we are actually expanding the overall ecosystem in terms of e-commerce, be it shoppers, be it people who are transacting, and sort of giving them an experience of how comfortable it is, how payments can be made, how the logistics system works when it comes to e-commerce. So if I were to give you an example, one person who might come and shop with us on Daras because he or she needed something essential might then the next day, be more comfortable paying their bills online with a dial-up.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Or so on and so forth. So in that way, growing the industry, getting people used to shopping online, getting people used to the concept of e-commerce is one of the things that we do, and then naturally happens. Right. So then they would have more confidence in shopping with some of our, other e-commerce platforms, online platforms. Absolutely. Right. The other thing is we are also looking at actually trying to really understand the e-commerce industry as well. Yeah. So we are working with Slascom right now, actually, doing some research, and it's a big research that we've commissioned to really understand the insights, what are the patterns available, how big is it, to be honest with you.
How big is it?
How big? I mean, honestly, I couldn't give you an exact answer right now. That's what we are researching. I mean, rule of thumb is we've sort of grown a little bit from about being 1% of total retail to maybe about 3 to 4% right now. And that's all of e-commerce, right? So, I don't know, I read recently that, Sri Lanka's e-commerce has the potential to be a $4.93 billion US industry. So I think we are close to that, but not quite there as well. So those are some of the things that we're doing to really understand, and that knowledge will be shared. It'll be public for everyone, and they can access it through Slascom and things like that. And obviously, as a corporate, we also want to really drive agendas that help the community. Right. And one of the things our corporate affairs team is working on is having a theme of education. It's actually something that I'm really keen on as well. And I feel we picked a really good niche in terms of where we can support the community. So in terms of our sellers, We've set up a Daras University.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a virtual university.
So this is not out in the open, is it?
I mean, we've talked about it a little bit. Right. It's not out in the open. Right. It's for Daras sellers right now.
Right, okay.
And, we provide them with, skills to sort of upskill their sort of experiences and how they can sell more and things like that.
Okay.
We're also sort of looking to expand that in partnership with certain universities, where we can give certain education benefits to all our staff, not just the ones in management, but people who are part of our operations team as well, because they also can upskill them.
Right.
And then later on, rolling it out to the public as well. So this is a long-term commitment that we've made, and not just the Daras Sri Lanka. We have good support from our regional partners also.
Right.
Regional ventures also.
Right.
And so those are some of the things we are really looking forward to. Right. I mean, we did, a buy one, give one campaign.
Yeah, we need to talk about that. We'll definitely get into that one.
Okay, right.
Before we actually jump into the entire conversation yourself. Right? We've structured it in a nice way.
So then I think I've come prepared in the same way you structured it.
Maybe.
You want to throw a curveball in there.
But let's talk about some of the pop-up stores that's been popping up on Instagram and social media and all that stuff. And this takes us back to the pandemic, where lots of people obviously were, selling stuff from home. I mean, you are a fully fledged corporate,
right?
Which basically has your own overheads and your taxes and etc. But you still have those little pop-ups that are basically coming up and just operating from home, who have found a loophole. Honestly speaking, they found a loophole and they're basically, moving themselves through this whole thing. Over the years, maybe right now, it might not necessarily be too much of a hindrance, but over the years, when you have many of these pop-ups coming up, would you feel that they're actually going to be eating into some sort of your consumer market? Or would you rather absorb them into your platform?
Correct. So that would be the best case scenario.
Yeah.
Again, though, there are a lot of variables at play on that. One of the things we are looking at even right now as we speak is actually this thing we call KOL shops on Daras platform itself.
Okay.
Right. So KOL, for anyone who doesn't know, is key opinion leaders or influencers, as some people might call them, who are essentially people who have a following on social media.
Right.
So what we're trying to do is we're trying to leverage on the following that they have, but give them a platform that they can do some selling and earn some money.
Right.
So one of the things we're looking at is our fashion category right now, where we are maybe looking to give the opportunity for certain selected influencers, I would say, to come onto the platform, promote their products.
Right.
We would give them an opportunity to promote certain products that we have, or if they want to sort of manufacture, partner with us and manufacture as well, we would give them that opportunity. So then we would create sort of what you call an influencer or a KOL shop for them.
Right.
And they would do all the promotions for them. They would drive traffic to the shop, and they can make an income on that sale, right? So, I mean, I wouldn't call it a passive income, but it's definitely something that's substantial.
Right.
And this would be apart from all the other work that they can do in the community, partnering with other brands and things like that. So I think that's the best way for us to go.
Right.
I don't think that, trying to sort of put sanctions on them, and things like that, and trying to block a business like that is the right way to go in terms of our scale, I would say. But absorbing them is definitely one way to go and one way to look at it. But we'll obviously have to have conversations with these people.
Exactly.
Because honestly, Shaq, right now it's at a very small scale.
That's right.
So we'd have to see how it makes sense in a business sense as well.
Because sometimes most of them are actually spur of the moment.
Correct.
They're not necessarily long term.
Correct.
Because they're bored.
Yeah.
And then they don't necessarily look at it as a business also at the
Correct.
same time.
Yeah.
But the reason I'm asking you this is because of the fact that this is exactly how it had started in other countries, basically shopping from home and starting their shop from home, and especially when you've got platforms like Instagram and Facebook, which is giving them that opportunity.
Correct.
It started eating into bigger e-commerce sites, which of course, then people are like, oh, did we actually miss the bus at that point?
Correct.
So, but I know we're far away from that at the moment. We just had a question. I just want to actually have that question popping up on the screen again. What about local streaming content? Is there a market for that? What part will Daraz play?
Wow, really good question. I think, Shaq, you also had some experience working with us for streaming.
Great time.
It's definitely something that we are very keen on. I think there's a huge market for it. As experienced by us sitting here today doing this show, this is something that you're very passionate about as well.
I am.
And I am the same.
Right.
So we've actually launched Daras Live, you know this. So the objective of Daras Live is actually to sort of give entertaining content to people and give them sort of a sense of what they can buy, give them an entertaining thing to watch while they maybe shop or things like that.
Right.
The whole objective there is the better content that we have, the longer someone will interact with us, the longer that they will stay on the app.
Right.
The longer that they stay on the app, then we can sort of move them down the funnel and, sort of, serve them an ad.
Right.
Try and see, hey, why don't you look at this?
Right.
They might go exploring by themselves.
Right.
Right. It's all about how can we get them through the door.
Right.
Right. So Daras Live is actually a function that is made for that. We're essentially trying to get people onto our platform who may not necessarily come onto the platform.
Right.
So, I mean, not everyone in Sri Lanka wants to shop online, right?
Of course.
I mean, let's accept that.
Yeah.
But they might want to consume some content, be entertained while, they are traveling or they're at home chilling or something like that.
Yeah.
So Daras Live was made for that.
Right.
So then what we do is we give people who probably never thought they're going to buy something online an chance to experience the Daras brand through Daras Live.
Right, right.
So we are hoping that then someday this person might become a customer of ours.
Right, right.
So definitely I feel we have a future for Daras Live. And as experienced by sort of us doing live sports.
Right.
Right. The last LPL we actually were the exclusive partner.
You were streaming it live.
Streaming it live, and the response was fantastic.
Yes.
Right. So this year also we want to see what we can do. We're going all out.
Right.
And we're trying to see if we can do the World Cup.
Excellent. That's a great idea.
It's going to be huge.
It's going to be very big, though. It's wonderful to actually have it out in the open for the first time.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So good news for that.
Yeah.
Also now, what actually makes Daraz stand out and still go strong during the current economic crisis? It is understood that everybody basically just wants to go with the flow. Sometimes big blue chip companies also want to basically take a breather and say, okay, let's just sit back and watch what is going to happen.
Yeah.
And all they've been doing is just watching for a long time.
Sure. Yeah.
By the time they're basically watching, the ship has already sailed.
Correct.
Then you've got others who really want to swim against the tide, like you guys have been also doing. So what really does push you to swim against the tide?
I think it's essentially what we do, right? It's so this is something that I've been working on from a brand perspective. I've been trying to see what purpose does our brand play in the lives of our community and our people these days, right?
Right.
And one of the things I was thinking about was, and I was discussing this with a colleague as well, is that there is a lot of uncertainty in Sri Lanka right now.
Of course.
Right? We don't know if we'll get fuel.
Yeah.
We don't know if we'll get transport. We don't know if we'll get a cab.
Yeah.
We don't know if, we'll get medicine.
We don't know if we can afford electricity tomorrow.
We don't know if the power will go out now.
We don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
It was a shocking news today.
Shocking news today. Electricity has gone up by 75%. So, I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty in our lives right now, right? But could we as a brand stand for something that, they can count on to be certain in their lives right now?
Right.
And that stems from all of our entire supply chain actually working together in terms of marketing, communicating what the right message, right assortment is, having that available at the right price, and then finally it being delivered.
Right.
So I think that is what makes Daras and us have that passion to sort of drive against the stream, because we know that people still need things.
Right.
Right. And that's never going to change. People need to survive. Life needs to go on.
That's right.
Right. I mean, there's no point us talking about, this economic crisis. This is our new reality.
Yeah.
And we have to face that, right?
Yeah.
And so the sooner we start sort of doing something for that,
right,
the sooner we start moving forward. And that moving forward could be against the tide. With the tide, hopefully we might start a new tide where people might follow us. But that is our objective, right? We never want to be still. And that's kind of the culture at Daraz as well. I mean, it's fantastic, right? Even though we are a company which has more than 1,000 staff, sometimes when I go into work, I still get that sort of startup kind of feel to it, right? Where everyone is just pushing to do something innovative, try something new. And you know, the senior management always encourages that. So that culture really fosters that sort of need and motivation to sort of drive forward as much as possible. So that, I think, is sort of what makes us different.
Is it easy for you to say this because you want to swim against the tide, because you know you have a safety net of backed by a massive giant like Alibaba?
Absolutely.
Right? So it makes it easier for you then?
Not at all.
It doesn't?
It doesn't.
Okay.
I mean, at the end of the day, Alibaba is a majority shareholder from us. And just like any other shareholder, it always questions us about value.
Okay.
Right? So we have to create value for our shareholders.
Right.
So in that sense, we have a big responsibility towards always trying to move forward and do better than the last month.
Right.
So the pressure never stops.
Okay. It's not resting on your laurels because you know if you fall down, someone's there to pick you up?
It's absolutely not that.
Okay.
It is absolutely not that. I think there's a very healthy dialogue between, you know, Bhartia Group CEO, as well as the Alibaba CEO, Daniel Zhang. And they've given us a good direction.
Okay.
They've told us where we need to sort of scale, where we need to push, and where maybe, you know, we can sort of not, how do I say this, be a little bit more efficient.
Okay.
So in that sense, they're giving us great leadership and, you know, what direction we need to go in. But definitely, you know, they're not taking it easy and saying, okay, you guys are going through a bit of an issue, relax for a bit, you know, stay at home for a while. Doesn't happen.
It's easy to actually have a misconception like that, Heshan. The reason I asked you that is the fact that sometimes when you are backed by a giant, right, you do have that breathing space. Sometimes you feel that you have a breathing space from someone who's actually looking at it from the outside. So it's like, oh, these guys are okay, they should be fine, they're never going to shut down, etc., etc. So, you know, that misconception is always going to be there.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's a misconception. To be fairly honest, I would see how a lot of people would think that. I completely agree with that, right? I mean, I am lucky that, you know, I find myself in the e-commerce industry where we still feel there's room to grow. Maybe at a slightly slower pace, but still room to grow. And we get the support from, like you say, Alibaba and the global giant for that purpose. So in that sense, yes, we are lucky. But I understand there are a lot of industries, a lot of companies in Sri Lanka who are not that lucky. So from the outside, yes, there is a conception that they are comfortable. But just because we maybe, you know, have a slightly bigger safety net does not mean that, you know, we're just lying in a hammock.
Interesting way of putting it. Okay, let's talk about the CSR projects, which have been doing really, really well so far. And there have been many that Daras has actually been part of. And one of the most notable ones is the buy one, give one, where you actually reached more than 1,000 families in different communities, especially the low-end communities. Explain that CSR project to us. How did that start out?
So I mean, buy one, give one is actually, we all sort of came together, and I think this was in May, or towards the early May, I think. We were where, you know, the things were changing and the economic crisis was hitting, and so we wanted to see what we could do. And so we wanted to make our community, our sort of Daras customers also a part of that. So what we did was buy one, give one was very simple. We said that for every essential order that a customer would make in whatever quantity on a selected products like essentials, like mainly dry rations and stuff like that, we would match their purchase and donate as well. So that is buy one, give one. So essentially when you shop with us, you're not just feeding your family, you're feeding another family as well. Was the sort of concept that we went on and what we wanted to build. So, I mean, you know, it really hit home. People really connected with it. And lots of people came and bought with us. And we were able to sort of, with the foundation of goodness that we partnered up with as well, we were able to sort
Kushal, great guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's been doing so many great work for the last almost 20 years.
Absolutely.
And doesn't look behind.
Doesn't look behind, and a real driving force. The project went very smoothly, you know, and it didn't drag, right?
Yeah.
He knew the urgency of the situation.
Of course.
And we managed to get the sort of goods to the people, you know, right after the campaign. More than 1,000 families fed. So yeah, it was a good campaign. It was nice to do that.
So is there a second wave? Is there before we answer that, I just got another question that actually quickly popped up on our screen right now.
Go for it.
Are you increasing the price of delivery fee in the future? I mean, it's a pertinent question.
Yeah.
Fuel prices are up. You know, inflation is up.
Inflation is up.
So are you raising your delivery fee?
To be honest with you, and I can say this with good authority, to whoever asked that question, I actually had a discussion about it today.
Okay.
And the consensus is no right now.
Okay, great.
But obviously we'll have to reevaluate month on month. You know. But to answer your question, definitely no, not right now.
Right. These are your delivery riders, or so basically they're still under the Daras umbrella.
Absolutely.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, how our logistics operation works is we've actually built our own sort of logistics arm. It's called Daras Express.
Okay.
Or DEX for short.
Okay.
So where we now by ourselves handle 80 to 85% of all our deliveries.
Okay.
And we use sort of LMP partners as well as some third-party delivery riders as well.
Right.
But the objective is obviously to try and get to 100%, where all our logistics are handled by Daraz itself.
Okay, okay. Going back to the CSR project, the buy one, give one, is there a second wave? Is there a third wave?
Yeah, I think definitely it is something that we can look at.
Right.
At the moment, we haven't planned for something immediately. At the moment, we're gearing up for Q3, which is a big quarter for us in terms of that's when we have our biggest sales.
Right.
So, you know, we are hoping to give like a lot of savings and a lot of value to our customers. That's what we are working on right now.
Right.
But definitely buy one, give one is something that worked really well. We can bring it back easily.
Right.
No immediate plans as yet. But what I want to do is actually sit with the team and try and figure out, you know, what some of the needs are actually as well.
Right.
Because a great way to really understand what the consumer sentiment is actually just studying what they're searching for on our platform.
Right.
And that gives us a good indication also of what people need right now. So using that information and data, yeah, definitely in the future we will look at bringing buy one, give one again for sure.
Okay, so now you also made a bold step just a couple of weeks ago by having a mid-year sale.
Yeah.
At a time where people are basically holding on to prices.
Sure.
At a time that people don't want to give anything for free.
Yeah.
You guys went ahead and did, it was a 4-day sale. It was
no, I think if I'm not mistaken, it was a 6-day sale.
6-day sale.
Yeah.
It was a 6-day sale.
Yes.
Made big noise about that.
Yeah.
How did that work out for you?
That worked out well.
Okay.
I wouldn't say great, to be honest with you.
Which I don't think you should be alarmed about.
Alarmed about, yeah, exactly.
Right? I mean, you're not expecting things to fly off the roof at the moment.
Correct.
But worked out well is good.
Worked out, yeah, quite well. See, also one of the things that we wanted to do with the sale as well is to sort of give consumers a relief from, you know, all the doom and gloom.
Okay.
Right? Sometimes a sale is something, see, what we also have to remember is we as a brand, we're all about online shopping, right? And at the heart of it, the act of shopping is something fun, something that, you know, people can connect with, something people use to sort of escape their daily lives. And we wanted to really touch on that and sort of drive a sale to sort of give the best possible prices, the best possible discount to our customers, but also just to see, you know, how the response would be. And I'm happy to say, you know, the response was quite good.
Right.
You know, we didn't go, you know, overboard. It wasn't fantastic or anything like that.
Right.
But the response in terms of the people how the people came out, what they bought, you know, how they seeked value, how they planned for the sale,
Right.
by adding things to the cart, waiting for, discounts to happen when the sale went live.
Right.
In that sense, the response was really great.
Right. Right.
So I still feel, Shaq, our people are very resilient.
Yeah.
Right? They still have the appetite. They still want, if they can find the best value, they would go for it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think that's where they are right now.
Right.
And it's up to us to provide that for them.
Right.
And they'll be with us, they'll shop with us. I'm confident.
We're just into the final 7 minutes of the show. Don't even realize, as always on the show.
Oh, wow, yeah.
You don't realize because we talk about so many things in such a short time and come out with the most amount of information. Like you said, we are a resilient lot.
Yeah.
We are a lot that's actually gone through a fair amount in our lives, and we're still basically fighting through it. Looks like things are slowly falling back into place, especially with the whole fuel situation coming to some sort of normalcy.
Yeah, I mean, but actually, what do you think about that? I mean, I think this is a bit of a false dawn.
I don't know. The thing is this, I suppose right now people are accepting what is happening right now because of the fact that they went through a period of doom.
Yeah, correct.
I mean, I had to stay in fuel queues for 2 days.
Yeah, I remember we were talking about
3
this.
nights,
Yeah,
we had to basically do that. And so anything from that point onwards to try and get your fuel in 1 hour.
correct.
You will
It's
take
like
it.
a godsend.
You will
yeah, no, I
take
get
it,
that
right,
for
you know?
sure. Yeah.
But yes, this is not something that we should accept.
Yeah.
As where we can't go into any fuel station and pump as much as we want.
Sure.
But considering the situation that we're going through right now, I suppose it is
correct. So I mean, yeah, I guess that's what we are also hoping for. We are also hoping for when Q3 rolls around, things would be a little bit better.
Right.
In terms of fuel, the situation would be a lot better.
Right.
And we can, fulfill. I think that's one of the biggest things we are sort of trying to fix.
Right.
Is that we can fulfill and deliver on our promise on time.
Right. How's your outstation market coming in though?
Again, Shaq, it's very practical issues we're facing there.
Right.
Again, our customers are still with us. They're coming, they're shopping. But I'll be very honest, in our outstation markets, we do have some problems in delivering.
Okay.
I mean, it's just one after the other. For example, last week, most of the central region had,
Knockout.
huge knockout.
Yeah.
Huge landslide. So like, trucks weren't going. So our line haul operators couldn't function.
Right.
So there were definitely delays in getting sort of products to them.
Right.
So yeah, definitely having a lot of issues in terms of delivery timelines for, I would say, outside Western Province predominantly. But we're working on it.
Right.
Every day the team is trying to figure out different ways of how we can sort of fix those things. And not just sticking to the same formula.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out if we can come up with something completely different.
Drones.
Just for those areas. Drones.
Put out the drones.
Yeah, I think we are only going to do that for advertising.
Put out the drones. Put out drones, Heshan. You've got the money to do it. Put it out. Ahmad sends us a question. When it comes to online platform in Sri Lanka, why is there no proper hotline to contact for any complaint?
That is a very good question. So actually, there is a hotline. People do contact us on the phone. However, we've also created within the app itself a chatbot for any of your queries that we have. So what we do is we actually give a response to a customer within the first 30 seconds.
Okay.
And we drive that sort of commitment to our customers. And then sort of the chatbot would sort of go through certain questions to try and identify what the issue is.
Right.
And if it can be solved within the platform using the AI itself, we would do that.
Okay.
However, if that sort of issue requires a more personal touch or one of our customer service executives to get involved, then they will get involved at that time.
Okay.
So it is how, pretty much every e-commerce company functions at this scale, basically. So that is what we do as well.
Okay.
So we have a fantastic customer service team who strive to sort of fix all your problems. But that's the answer to your question, why we don't have a or how I'd say we only operate on a hotline.
You better say nice things about customer service.
Oh, absolutely.
Otherwise, you will not be able to go into work tomorrow.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, they do a fantastic job. Right. Yeah.
Okay, Heshan, into the final few minutes of the show, you were talking about Q3. You were basically very excited about Q3. What plans for Daras in Q3 moving forward?
Yeah, so I mean, we have our birthday campaign coming up.
Okay.
This time it's a little bit earlier in September.
Okay.
Then obviously we have 11/11, our biggest sale, moving into Christmas. So I'm really hoping that, we had a really tough, I would say, first half of the year and a little bit more. But I'm really hoping that, our outlook would be much better for the next kind of 4 months. Right. And I'm really hoping that, with everything sort of coming together, we can have a much better time of it than we had in the first 6 months.
Right.
So that's what makes it exciting for me.
Right.
Sort of going into work with the right attitude, maybe some of the, dark clouds would have dissipated,
right,
or something like that.
Right.
And then hopefully we can really drive and have a fantastic sale. Customers can, buy what they want, they'll have what they want at the right discounts, and we'll do a fantastic sale on those months as well. And hopefully lift some of this doom and gloom.
Right. I realized that your office is, of course, was also in the heart of the action.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
in the last few weeks, it was right smack in the middle.
Yeah.
But how was it for some of you not being able to go there? And also try and push an e-commerce site, which also needs some sort of hands-on experience by working from home.
Yeah, I mean, we just manage, right? I mean, again, just like how Sri Lankans are resilient, the people who work at Daras are resilient, right? There weren't any complaints. They just got on with the job, right? This is the new reality.
Right.
Yes, we work there. Sometimes we would be working there, and suddenly I'm in a meeting, and suddenly, HR admin would notify us saying there's a protest on the way.
Right.
We've been asked to vacate the building.
Right.
And then it's just, all hands on deck.
Right.
Guys, let's go. We're leaving out the door.
At that time, gas mask would have been just the best
one.
Yeah. How come you couldn't get it down on your side?
Yeah,
it was
we can't get those.
I know you can't.
Yeah.
You would have made a killing.
We would have made a killing, right? Just handing out some gas masks, I think, outside.
That's it. You have made an absolute killing. But
the brand would have done amazing.
I know. It's just been all over.
Correct.
But it's been a lot of fun. At the end of the day, I think you guys have done a fantastic job so far. Like I told you earlier on, I think one thing that Daras has done successfully is understanding the requirement of the lifestyle right now, and started pushing products the moment you get on site, which is great.
Yeah.
Because more often than not, sometimes some of the people also get clouded by what's going on right now, don't understand what the lifestyle is today.
Correct.
So they don't even realize this is what they want right now until you actually show it to them.
Correct.
So I'm sure there's a lot of algorithm that really goes into
absolutely.
them.
Yes.
I'm sure you have a massive data team that obviously is handling it. So kudos to your team of being a part of it. I'm really excited for the next couple of months as far as Daras is concerned as to what we obviously will see. But thank you so much, Heshan. Just before you do go, I want to see exactly what our poll is going to be like.
I did remember that.
We got so many people. I know we got so many people sending in messages. The yeses and the nos, we'll find out. The poll was basically on earlier on the show. Will the e-commerce industry survive the economic crisis? Yes or no? We had so many people watching us on Channel 1 on Dialogue TV, and of course on our YouTube platform on PodHub. WhatsApp your answers if you did so. 077 669 1590 was the number, and 59% say the e-commerce industry will survive the economic crisis. There is still a fair amount of individuals who don't think that it will actually survive.
I was hoping that number to be a lot higher.
I was hoping that number to be a lot higher because maybe what I think is the fact that right now Daraz has been synonymous with e-commerce.
Correct.
Which seems to be that Daraz is the only e-commerce site there. You did have many others who unfortunately have sort of withered away. And it looks like maybe they're taking an example from those individuals who unfortunately had to shut down. think that this is not going to basically move
I
on?
mean, it also, to me, sort of echoes the kind of sentiment and the mood that people might be in, right?
True.
Because e-commerce, as soon as you think about it, you think about shopping, i.e. buying a product.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So in the sense of buying products, obviously people might think that's going to come down a lot.
Yeah.
Right? And that, some people might think, because of people's consumption habits are going to really drop.
Right.
E-commerce might find it difficult.
Right.
I guess, you know, I can see the point that the 31%
Yeah.
are making.
Yeah. I think it's purely boils down to the disposable income, which is diminishing.
Exactly.
That's on a daily basis.
Correct.
On a daily basis.
Yeah.
And actually, somebody told me over the weekend, which I was pretty shocked to even hear it, is the fact that unless your health is critical, you still put it away. Under these current situations.
Absolutely.
You still hold on to it. So, like you said, holding on to cash and thinking 3 times before you actually make that purchase is where your team needs to actually make that conversion.
Absolutely.
It's not easy.
It's not easy at all.
It's not easy at all. So, but you got your task cut out.
Absolutely.
But you've got your products.
Yeah.
So it's basically, it's right there for you to start delivering it and dishing it out to your customers. Heshan, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, Shaq.
Absolute
pleasure. I didn't feel the time going at all.
There you go. That's how it is. And that's exactly what we do on the show. We basically drill and get all the answers out.
Correct.
And as always, it's a very candid conversation.
I mean, it's good to have a conversation like this. Sometimes, you know, even I don't get to put my thoughts in order.
Of
sometimes
course.
like this.
There's, like I said, we just want to find out what's going on.
Absolutely.
I wish Anu was here, but unfortunately, he has a family engagement. He couldn't make it. But he'll be here tomorrow. Tomorrow's a very, very big show. I really don't want to reveal too much on it right now. But thank you so much, guys, for being a part of the show. As always, we'll be back with you once again tomorrow night, 9:30, right here on Channel 1 Dialogue TV and, of course, on our Pod Hub platforms on YouTube. Have yourself a great night. Good night.